Hello YouTube, I'm RetroSteveUK and welcome to this retrospective look at 10 of the greatest jingles from old UK television adverts. This is a follow-up to my greatest advert catchphrases video, and if you haven't seen that yet you can find a link in the description. As before, suggestions for this list were provided by the viewers of my RetroSteveUK channel. Credits for those suggestions will appear on screen with each entry, so congrats to you if your suggestion was used. Now, if you'd like to see all the adverts from this countdown in full and without any commentary, I've put together a separate video featuring just that, and there'll be a link on screen at the end of this video. So, get your nostalgia glands ready and your singing voices warmed up. Here comes the countdown. Number 10.
For mash, get smash.
The Smash brand of instant mashed potato was first launched by Cadbury in the 1960s. And in 1974 the Smash Martians hit our screens to promote the product. These robotic aliens found it hilarious that primitive humans would take ordinary potatoes, peel them, boil them and smash them to bits, when all they really needed to do was add hot water to a packet of Smash. The success of the first advert led to many follow-up ads featuring these robotic aliens, which aired on TV all the way into the early 80s, and each ad was punctuated by that memorable jingle, "For mash, get smash." Now, I don't know about you, but if aliens were to come here, I imagine they'd be less worried about our cooking habits and more concerned with our tendency to blow each other up. Still, at least the aliens in this advert had a good sense of humour, because they definitely need it if they ever did pay us a visit. Number 9.
A Mars a day helps you work, rest and play.
Mars bars were first sold in the UK in 1932, but it wasn't until 1959 that we got the famous work, rest and play slogan. The phrase was rumoured to have been invented by Murray Walker, who worked in advertising before he famously became a sports commentator, but this has never actually been confirmed, so you'll have to draw your own conclusions on that. 14 years later, in 1973, the catchy music was added to the slogan, and we got the memorable jingle that's definitely still stuck in your head right now, even though it went off air in 1997. There's also a rumour that the work, rest and play slogan was banned because it was either factually or politically incorrect. But in truth, it was dropped simply because the Mars company decided to rethink the marketing and go in a different direction. Perhaps it was time for a change, or maybe it was just another example of the boss of a massive company throwing away decades of brand recognition, because that definitely wouldn't happen nowadays, would it? Number 8.
Bird's eye potato waffles, you're waffly versatile.
Bird's eye potato waffles were first launched to an unsuspecting British public in 1981, and they've definitely been a roaring success as we can still buy them now in 2023. In 1982, a year after the initial product release, we were treated to this extremely catchy, goofy advert with an unforgettable earworm of a jingle. The main phrase is a simple word pun, playing on the similarity between awfully versatile and waffly versatile. Bad pun notwithstanding, we got the joke straight away, and the combination of dad joke and goofy music effortlessly won us over. The ad was rehashed a number of times during the 1980s, each time losing just a little bit of its original distinctiveness. But in recent years, 2018 to be exact, the ad was resurrected with a more straight-laced musical style and altered lyrics, which to my ear felt a little awkward if you were familiar with the original. For example, the catchy line,
"Grill 'em, bake 'em, fry 'em, eat 'em,"
was replaced with,
"Grill 'em, bake 'em, load 'em, love 'em."
and I can only presume this was because frying can be unhealthy and Bird's Eye didn't want their food products associated with unhealthy cooking methods. Remakes aside, the original ad with that distinctive, goofy voice and the catchy tune and phrases will, I'm sure, always keep its special place in our collective memories. Number 7.
Now hands that do dishes can feel soft as your face with mild green fairy liquid.
The Fairy Liquid Hands That Do Dishes ad campaign was launched in the 1960s in an attempt to persuade housewives that washing up dishes doesn't have to wreck your delicate hands. These ads were accompanied by the iconic jingle that many of us grew up with throughout the 60s, 70s, 80s and beyond. There'd usually be a scenario involving a child and mother, and eventually a father as we became more socially progressive, and they'd be discussing something random relating to the detergent, followed by some kind of heartwarming punchline at the end as the famous jingle gently played out. Arguably the most famous face of the Fairy Liquid ads was actress and author Nanette Newman, who appeared in the longest run of the adverts during the 1980s. Now, as to whether or not Fairy Liquid actually does work as a cleaning detergent and as a hand moisturiser, well, I'll leave that discussion to the comments section. Number 6.
Everyone's a fruit and a nutcase.
The tagline, "Everyone's a fruit and nutcase," was accompanied by a jingle sung to the tune of Dance of the Mirlitons from Tchaikovsky's Nutcracker Ballet. Famous comedy writer and personality Frank Muir provided the vocal performances for these adverts in a suitably wry and comedic fashion, and the British public took the tune to heart, with many of us still on occasion singing the jingle to this day. The ads ran for a few years, such was their success, although it's doubtful you'd hear the term nutcase used in advertising today, as it can be considered fairly derogatory in relation to those of us with mental health issues. However, the well-loved jingle, as a thing of its time, can still remain harmlessly lodged in our nostalgic memories, raising a smile or two whenever it comes to mind again. Number 5.
Only the crumbliest, flakiest chocolate tastes like chocolate never tasted before.
Cadbury's Flake was introduced as a product in 1920, but the Flake Girl adverts that this jingle goes hand in hand with first hit our screens in 1959. The last ad was produced in 2004, with the exception of a brief reintroduction in 2007, where singer Joss Stone, in what I thought was a fairly tedious advert, takes a break from recording in a studio to eat a Cadbury's Flake, whilst quietly singing the well-known jingle under her breath. The adverts have always been well known for being sensual, sexually symbolic and, well, let's face it, they depict women using their lips and tongue to caress a long rod of chocolate. I mean, what do you think it was symbolising? The imagery has always been suggestive, and often so much so that one of the ads was banned in the 1970s for being too risque. Over the years, the ads noticeably skewed away from "let's turn on the male viewers" to "it's an indulgent treat for independent women." But both elements always remained in some form, because even to this day, advertising agencies know that sex sells. It's just now that accountability is more of a thing, they have to be more careful about what they can get away with. Still, a great jingle nonetheless. Number 4.
A finger of fudge is just enough to give your kids a treat.
This timeless jingle featured in a number of Fudge ads over the years, but arguably the most memorable is the one with the schoolboys playing conkers, where one of them is distracted by his mum giving his sister a Cadbury Fudge bar and runs off to get one for himself halfway through the conkers match, much to the disdain of the other kid. This ad aired in 1979, 31 years after the launch of the Milk Fudge, which is what the bar was originally called when Cadbury launched it in 1948. It's rumoured that the jingle's tune was based on a traditional English folk song called the Lincolnshire Poacher, but I'm reserving judgment on that. It is a similar tune, but it's different enough to make me think it might be a common misconception. If you can prove the musical connection, please post it in the comments. You'll be putting us out of our misery. Now, as for whether a finger of fudge is just enough, well, as I've been able to scoff an entire multi-pack in one session on more than one occasion, I'd have to say that just one is definitely not just enough. Number 3.
Do the shake and back and put the freshness back. Do the shake and back and put the freshness back.
Want your living room to smell of talcum powder after vacuuming? Why not try new Shake and Vac from Glade? Just sprinkle it all over your carpet, then vacuum it up into the Hoover bag along with all the dust, pet hair and other unmentionables your family have shed, and hey presto, your entire house will smell of a permeating cocktail of dust, talc and germs. Yeah, most of our mums were enamoured enough with the catchy advert back in the day to give this product a go, but the reality that I remember was a nauseating, sickly mix of smells that lingered in your living room for ages. Even the actress from the advert, Jenny Logan, admitted years later in a TV interview that multiple takes of this powder-based dance routine had her throwing up between recording sessions. Unbelievably, the product is still on shop shelves today in 2023, but I have to wonder how much of its modern appeal is to do with nostalgic memories of the 80s advert. Still, whatever your opinion of Shake and Vac, it's a great advert and an incredibly catchy jingle that very much deserves a place in this countdown. Number 2.
Oh, ice lemonade. I'm a secret lemonade drinker.
I remember seeing this ad for the first time when I was still a young lad in the 1970s. The sight of this gangly guy sneaking down the stairs, that absolutely rocking soundtrack, and his wife discovering what he was up to, all coupled with the very weird idea that somebody might feel the need to hide their lemonade addiction as if it were an alcohol problem. This all resulted in my entire family getting the bug for singing the jingle and laughing together as we recounted the advert. The ads ran for about 10 years until 1984, but were eventually resurrected in 1993, this time with different comedic endings filmed with lookalike actors. Each ad variation would swap out the wife for a famous personality of the time, two memorable examples being Ronnie Corbett and John McEnroe. The weirdest, most surreal swap out, however, was the cartoon character Mr. Ben, and the end of the advert played out like an episode of the cartoon. So quite an effective and long-running ad campaign then, and one of the best and most memorable jingles from that time that you could ever hope to come across. Before we continue, here are a few honourable mentions.
Trio!
Too loud.
Trio!
I said that was too
I
loud.
want a trio and I want one now.
Yeah, well, we all do.
Oh, look. Nuts! Oh, hazelnuts! Adverts, take a bite of chocolate.
They're tasty, tasty, very, very tasty. They're very tasty.
You can't get better than a Kwik Fit Fitter.
You can't get better than a Kwik Fit Fitter.
You can't get better than a Kwik Fit Fitter. We're the boys to trust.
Number 1.
Just one Cornetto, give it to me.
The Wall's Cornetto ice cream has been a staple in British shops and ice cream vans for as long as I can remember, and it's still going strong today. And it's possible that this success could be mostly down to our love and familiarity with this jingle, which has managed to hit the top spot on a number of countdown surveys over the years. The original advert from 1982 shows an opera singer in a gondola gently drifting towards another gondola where a pretty lady is sat enjoying a cornetto. He appears to be serenading her, and as he approaches, she closes her eyes, expecting some kind of loving gesture, but instead he grabs her cornetto, at which point we and the lady both realise he was only interested in one thing: her ice cream. It's a classic advert that plays out more like a comedy sketch, and it's captured the nation's hearts ever since. There can't be many people even now who aren't familiar with the words "just one cornetto," sung to the tune of the Italian opera song O Sole Mio, and it wins the top spot on this countdown mainly because of its sheer longevity and the fact that most of us now know this version better than the original song it was based on. A truly legendary jingle with the staying power to keep us all singing for over 40 years whenever we see or hear a reference to the product. That has to be deserving of the top spot on this list. Well, there it is. Go ahead and hit the comments with your thoughts and memories and let us know if you think we missed out any of your favourites. And if you'd like to be included in a future Retrospectives video, I'll be requesting your comments through my various social media accounts whenever I'm working on something new. You'll find all the links in this video's description. We'll finish off now with a full clip of the advert that took the number 1 spot, and remember to watch out for the on-screen links at the end for that uncut collection of all 14 adverts from this countdown. I'd also like to thank everyone who responded with their suggestions for this video, and to thank you for liking and subscribing, and as always, thank you all for watching Retrospectives.
Just one Cornetto.